Yes. Okay. Yes, I can send it again to her.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Carl Quirm. I'm the Director of Public Works, I think. Most of you probably know me. Just a quick reminder, we're being recorded tonight for those viewers at home. This is a kind of an important step in this process. Just by way of history, well, first of all, let me introduce some other folks. A couple of the selectmen are here. Selectman Levane, Selectman Camposano. And then let me introduce our consultants. Mike Long, most of you have probably met him already. Mike is with McFarland Johnson. Brian Colburn also with McFarland Johnson. Town engineer Megan Terrio. What we're undertaking tonight, the two intersections that we're going to talk about have been studied to death in this town as long as I've been here. Both of them have been studied for a long time. We were successful a few years ago in getting a grant. We were successful in getting a grant, a federal grant called the CMAQ grant, which is Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvements Grant. So we're getting money to pay for about 55% of the work involved in these two intersections, which is quite an incentive for the town to step up and get these done. What the strings that are attached to that federal process, however, lay out a process where we kind of, even though we've done many, many studies of these intersections, we have to kind of go back to square one, look at all the alternatives that are out there, look at today's traffic situation, and kind of evaluate it from the start. So tonight's meeting is called a local concerns meeting. It's the first meeting in the process. We are here more or less to listen. We have a very brief presentation that we'll run through just to kind of give everybody, lay out the history of the project. And then basically our job is to sit and listen to what you all have to say about these two intersections. So with that, I will turn it over to Mike and let him kind of walk us through the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Carl. I'm just going to go through a brief PowerPoint presentation here. Carl said there's who we are. Just as a matter of, oh, wait a second here, there's some people coming in. As a matter of full disclosure, I am a Goffstown resident, so I actually drive through these intersections every day on my way to Concord. Our firm is from Concord, and Brian and I both work up there. So I do have some knowledge, about what goes on here. This is our agenda for this evening. As you can see, we're just, and as Carl said, we're here pretty much to listen. We're going to talk about things a little bit, and we have done some initial work to collect some traffic data. You may have seen some people out here counting cars. We've also had our environmental folks out walking around a little bit. And I've actually been in contact with the police department regarding crash information as well. So, as Carl said, there's two projects here. The first one is the one you see here and up on the screen. High and Elm Street, and we have this little mass road that is actually Main Street there. Right by the library and Sully's Market down there. I mean, again, you guys are probably all familiar with this. You know of some of the problems. Again, I drive through this every day, so I see some of the issues here. The CMAQ grant allows you to work on a project like this to make improvements to it. So that's one intersection. The other is the one at Pleasant Street, which I'll just drop this down for a second. And this one also has some issues. It's probably improved a little bit since we looked at it a long time ago as part of doing the Wallace Road intersection as well. But definitely there's some issues here, some confusion about, which side of the island you're supposed to go on. Definitely, an area here that's been here like this for a long time, and people deal with it as they will in certain instances. This is a list of the previous studies that were done. Just a little bit of background here. Obviously, you can read that stuff as well as I can, but one of the things that's kind of interesting to me is some of the folks from DOT that I know actually were here in town a number of years ago, even before I moved here back in '98, looking at ways that they can improve, especially the High and Elm Street intersection. And because of the impacts that occur when you try to deal with some of the traffic issues down here, certainly nothing was done. It stuck with it the way it was because that was a decision that was made at that time. So a number of things have been done through the years, and people keep trying to think these things through, and hopefully you can help us do that tonight. Again, as Carl said, the funding is CMAQ. There was a one-year delay, and now we're getting started on it. The process that you see up there, phase 1, 2, and 3, that's the process that we're going to go through. We want to get our concepts in place. There will be a steering committee of folks to help us do that, in addition to the information we gather here tonight. And hopefully we'll have some concepts that are on the table by August, and then we can proceed with a preferred alternative and get that in place so we can finish the design by next spring and have some construction going in 2014. The conceptual design, just a little bit of background, what that's all about. We've already started that. We have some data that we use. We're actually using the town mapping for the concept. There is some survey data available as well. We're also gathering, as I said, crash data, traffic information. Resource identification is environmental resources, so historical buildings, archaeological things. Obviously, in this case, there's no wetlands. Things like that you normally have to deal with, but we definitely go looking around for those things to make sure that we're not impacting something. That's part of the federal process. And then public involvement, that's us here tonight, and then the alternatives development. And basically that's where we're going to start things tonight for you folks. As I said before, there were some concepts that were done. I'll just point out that on the Pleasant Street intersection was a roundabout considered. There was a traffic signal considered. There was a do-nothing alternative considered as well. That's where we have to start again. Or something else. Maybe there's something else that can be done here. Not obvious to me, I guess, at this point, but those are basically the options. What we're looking for tonight from you is input. What do you see as the issues? What works, what doesn't? What are the problems that you see out there? And any solutions that you guys might have on your mind, things that might be out there. Obviously, pedestrians are also an issue here. We shouldn't be talking just about cars. There are a number of bicyclists that use 114 to take longer trips. We all know there's the crossing guard at Union Street. She's there every morning. And then down at High and Elm, we've got a crossing guard down there to help move traffic along as well. So there's obviously issues at both of these things. What we're going to do tonight to get this stuff together is Brian here is going to write some things down as things come up. We want to walk away from this with your thoughts. If you have something where you'd like to come up and point to one of the maps, please feel free to do so. We're going to start with this one. So I'll throw this one back up here. And with that, I'll open it up to anyone that would like to say anything. And, don't be shy. Yes, sir.
My name's Russ Lariat. I live at 12 Elm Street. And one of my questions is, why can't we have a traffic light there? I've got an aerial view of an intersection that is almost identical to what that one is, and works fine. It has traffic lights, and High Street has a right-hand turn and plus a straight lane. Elm Street has a right-hand turn plus a left-hand turn. Mass Road has, North Mass has enough room there to have a left-hand turn and a right-hand turn. The only one that would have a problem is Main Street itself, to have the traffic going straight. Get rid of that little bump out there, and you could take and have a right-hand turn there. Mm-hmm. And if you want to see the aerial view,
yeah, sure.
It's Hughes Road and Western Road. You match that up with that aerial view, and this is the aerial view of Goffstown.
Okay.
They're pretty much the same exact thing.
Right.
We had voted on traffic light years ago, and we ended up with bump outs, and, I think traffic light is time for Goffstown. Granville gets one at every street corner there is, and, as far as the historical part of Goffstown, that's far gone now.
Well, that's definitely one of the options we're going to look at. As I said, we've collected the traffic. The original, as Carl mentioned before, the New Hampshire DOT design a long time ago actually recommended a traffic signal. They had, if I remember right, they actually had 4 lanes though on Mass, which I think was some of the drawback to that in people's eyes. But we're definitely going to that's definitely going to be on the table. Traffic
This
signal.
road that I showed you there, the Hughes Road, Weston Road, that's a very heavily traveled road. I go over there quite often to go visit a friend of mine, and the cars use that a lot to cut across to go over to the schools and things like that. It's very well traveled, and it works fine. And
Okay.
it's something that I think the town needs to go over and take a look at that and see how it works.
Sure.
Russ, what town is that other intersection in? Is that just
Right here in Manchester.
in Manchester?
Yeah,
Okay.
Manchester.
And I think if you look at that and see what we got for road work and width and everything, I think if you save a lot of time, then it would work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Oh. Okay.
You just got an appointment, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mike. Got an appointment. I think folks out in TV land might want to hear
That's fine.
us speaking, which the microphones don't work too well back there. I'm David Pierce. I live in Gulfstown Village at 21 Mill Street, Mike. I frequent these intersections every day, where we're discussing the routes 13 and 114 where they split and merge. As background, I do have a degree in civil engineering. I'm somewhat familiar with transportation planning, so I'll give you a few nuggets of what I've learned. The village, by village planning that you showed on the slide and corridor management, I know that they went back to 2003, and you showed dates even earlier than that, where the town has struggled over the limitations of these two intersections, and then how to handle them at those times, and let alone predicting what the traffic volume is going to be well into the future. By highway capacity manuals, these intersections are failed. I believe you categorize them as Category F. And basically due to the delay of vehicles needing certain turning movements. I advocate that, or mention that some of us speaking tonight may advocate to do nothing, or simply install some cosmetic changes on these intersections. And I maintain that they would not be doing the town any favors and helping the growth of this town. I've seen pictures of these two intersections at the Historical Society. I'm an officer there. These intersections, their width, their locations, the proximity of all the buildings were laid down years ago, and especially in the days of horse and carriages. The speed of our transportation vehicles is much, much more. A drastic overhaul is truly necessary in the move out of the horse and carriage world into our modern transportation. We also have to accept the fact that I-93 corridor is dumping a lot of traffic into what this is essentially a choke point for the commuters going to New Boston, Ware, Dunbarton. And that certainly is part of your highway volume capacity studies. You've done a lot of highway design, Mike, and I know that in this particular case, you would hope to have a lot of enthusiastic supporters of your recommended design. You would be great if you could get 40 to 60% to say that recommended design is the best. I maintain, especially for the Elm, High, Main Street, North Mast. If you talk to 10 individuals, you're going to get 10 different desires as to how a design could be. They'll all be very passionate about their design, and even if you do your best with engineering logic, they're not going to change their passionate desire of how to redesign. Therefore, you're not going to get that large core of supporters on your single design and then move forward. That makes the town's decision on what to do a hard decision. Not easy, not popular. I urge the town decision authorities, whether you're the consultant, Public Works, the selectmen, to not be faint of heart and lose this opportunity that we have by the CMAQ grant. Truly, this is an opportunity to make a difference in the capacity of these intersections and put in place real improvements, not cosmetic improvements. You should be willing, as consultants and town officials, to make hard and necessary decisions. Bring to the public designs that are truly necessary, addressing the capacity of these of the roads. And I would suggest that your designs should involve purchasing land, moving objects, moving utility alignments, providing safe pedestrian crossings, providing bike lanes. Perhaps you're going to have to limit vehicle movements where we're very accustomed to them coming in and out of various residents or establishments. And all that's very compounded by large trucks. Bottom line, don't lose the opportunity we have this year and do little or do nothing. Don't let residents 15 to 20 years in the future look back. If we were to do nothing, they would look back and say to their neighbors, did you know the town of Gulfstown had an opportunity to redesign these intersections in 2013 and they squandered it? They would simply look back at the leadership then and say, you had an opportunity, you were penny wise to do little or do nothing, but pound foolish as to the future capacity of the roads. So I thank you for the opportunity for my comments here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I could. I'm Robbie Grady with the Goffstown Main Street Program, and I was one of the members of the Village Planning Committee in 2008. And at that time, and since then, we have, as a program, maintained that our number one goal is safety and not ease or speed. That this particular portion of our community, and in fact throughout our community, our number one goal should always be safety. At the same time, because our program is rooted in historic preservation, we know that there is incredible economic and social value in maintaining the heritage of our and character of our historic downtown. So I would urge the committee and the town as a whole to keep those things in mind as we go forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Richard O'Brien, the fire chief also. And I would like to echo what Robbie had just said with safety, with the increased pedestrian traffic that we're realizing downtown. We've had pedestrian accidents downtown every year since I've been here, and that's been in town over 20 years now. And one of the things I'd like to have you consider, or at least entertain, is the signalized intersection at this intersection. For one reason is the fact that when emergency vehicles try to navigate through here during peak times, or we call it rush hour, if you want to call it rush hour times, often we just can't get through, or response is delayed. Versus if it was a signalized intersection, we have the technology to control the lights in our favor through what they call traffic preemption. And it's a little light that we have on our vehicles that you'll often see the red light flashes on the intersection. that's kind of like warning you that emergency vehicles are entering. So that gives us the green light to get through. And it helps us get through in and out of the way of traffic, so traffic can continue. So this one particular intersection, I'd like you to have to consider that.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no, I'll talk. I am Jennifer Phillips. I am here in capacity of the Library Board of Trustees and then also as a resident. So I'll speak first for the Library Board of Trustees' concerns or thoughts and then as a resident. They basically asked me to come here with 3 buckets. The first and foremost, of course, is improved safety for those who access the library. We have patrons that come on foot, on bike, and in cars, and their safety is of utmost importance to us. The second is the preservation of the green space in front of the library. While aesthetically pleasing, it also serves as functional space for the library. A number of children's activities are held outside, particularly ones that are messy and involve paint and things like that. It also serves as a gathering place for downtown organizations and activities during any of our festivals. And then the third and final one is to preserve the existing curb cuts that are there. Losing the current configuration will present issues, and I'm going to be positive here and say when the library is expanded. And it could cause, because of the way that the property of the library
You're
is
talking about the
configured.
driveways, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a fancy way of saying the driveway.
Yeah.
Yes, existing curb cuts. Okay, taking off my library hat and putting on my resident one, I live on Spring Street.
Okay.
One of the beauties of living this close to the downtown area is that I can walk. I can walk to Sully's, I can walk to the hardware store, I can walk to the post office. I have almost been hit at least 6 times, and I'm not exaggerating. The biggest concern, of course, is that the crosswalk to Sully's, because you've got people who get frustrated and they're tired of waiting on Elm and they come flying around that corner and up High Street. But I've also almost been hit coming across to Town Hall. So really, the speed factor in this entire Mass Road area is a problem. And that's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get the speed on that?
Yeah, right, speed on this.
Okay. Well, let me hold off. If there's others that maybe a repeat customer, if there's others that would like to speak, feel free. Yes.
More question, Beverly Towden with Towden Story. When the people talk about moving those bump outs, which is a good idea to alleviate them, but you're also going to be taking away our parking by widening that street. We've already lost parking spaces.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that
And
we
I
need
have
to consider.
reiterate what she says. The speed is a big factor. Going through into any of those crosswalks, there's numerous accidents there.
Right.
Because they tell them to stop at a crosswalk.
Let me just say that I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, but the intent of the bump outs originally is to try to narrow up the crosswalks and maybe hopefully reduce the speed a little bit.
It doesn't reduce.
Yeah, it hasn't had quite the effect I think that Carl was looking for.
Oh, man. Kill him.
My driveway, put the speed bump.
Yes, sir.
Ray Tabor, I live 8 West Union Street, which is almost parallel to Pleasant Street. I've been driving that area almost on a daily basis since the early 1950s. I'm not sure that area is broken. It has very poor signage. And the main problem with backups are usually at commute time, and they seem to stem from the Wallace Road roundabout. Everything backs up from there when everybody's trying to get to school.
Yep.
The library, without some real drastic land taking, that truly is a failed intersection? I'm not sure I have an answer for that one. Although hindsight is always 20/20, and years ago, in the 40s and 50s, attempts were made to bypass the town of Goffstown. They all failed. Primarily because of the business owners were, a little edgy and afraid to lose business. That one's a big problem.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I'll move on to the next one.
Okay, can I ask a
Go
question,
ahead.
Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
The question about the driveway to the library. Why are 2 driveways needed? Is it?
My understanding is that because it is so narrow, you can't access the upper lot. So this is a parking, I'm not sure how old this
Yeah.
is, but this is now a parking lot up
Right.
here. So this entrance provides access to this. This entrance provides access to this. Now, there are people that'll pull out that way, but
I've never done that.
you back out and, okay. But that's my understanding, or whomever asked that question, that's why that second thing is needed.
Can I just jump back in?
Sure.
Add a new one.
One of the things, and Carl will laugh a lot, one of the things that we talked
Not saying a
about
word.
in the village planning committee meetings was reducing the number of cars on the street rather than just making it easier for them to get through. And one of the ways you would do that would be with a park and ride located north of the village. And most of the studies that we looked at back in 2008, before the gas prices increased, was that park and ride usership across the country and across the state were going up. And if we could eliminate some of the cars, particularly at peak hours,
Sure.
from there.
They ever talk about a park and ride to the west? 114?
Yeah.
Your way out? Yeah. I know some people have been kind of skipping around intersections. I'll just go to the other one. If you want to still comment on this, fine. Just go right ahead. I'll just put this one down for now. I don't know if there's any more comments about this one. I think a lot of the issues are somewhat similar. Obviously, the constraints at High and Elm Street are much more severe in terms of the historic buildings and things like that. But there's definitely some different kinds of issues here. Don't know if anyone wants to comment on this one. Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Finn. I live at 11 West Union Street. The traffic isn't as much of a problem at this intersection anymore since it gets tied up there every morning and every afternoon to the Wallace Road roundabout. I think just waited whatever the time to whatever they call the blue lights that regulate traffic based on the traffic coming in and out of an intersection. Your plan does not include any treatment of West Union or East Union Streets, which is right at the crest of the hill. My wife goes across to St. Lawrence's every morning and takes her life in her hands. She only goes over there when the crossing guard is there. So she's a half an hour early for Mass so that she can get across the street. West Union Street is a serious problem. I watch these soccer moms come up the street from the ballpark, stop at the intersection, and go left with a car full of kids. One of these days, there's going to be a massacre there. And that is more important than a lot of these other issues. The intersection is not, in my opinion, a problem. Traffic seems to flow decently well through there. I have a problem with not dealing with the Union Streets, and I have a problem with the traffic backed up into that intersection all the way from Wallace Road. Those are my comments. I think lights
Okay,
could be used there.
thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Mike Smith. I live at 50 Main Street. I just concur with my neighbors. I'm right at the corner of West Union and Main Street.
Okay.
I see the traffic all the time because I live there. The problem that Mr. Finn described at the top of the hill is one that needs to be dealt with. We have children that cross there. Even with the crossing guard out there with her sign up, people blow by there without stopping. I've seen it many times. Like he also said, people take a left turn there, even though there is a sign, no left turn. Happens all the time with that. As far as the major intersection there, you essentially have a rotary there already existing. I think if you had the proper signage so that it showed people what to do, you would eliminate a lot of your problems.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm on Pleasant Street. I just want to reinforce what these two gentlemen have said. I've crossed this intersection many times and almost been hit many times, almost every time, going across to the church, coming back, you have visibility. Whether that road could be recreated, the rest of the traffic circle works well. And many studies have said basically playing chicken is safer than having a light or having a rotary. And that's what that traffic circle does. But there, the grading of that road going across toward the church is terrible. You cannot be seen. And it's a miracle a light pole hasn't been blown down.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to tell me that. I do know it's difficult to cross there on the crosswalk. No question about it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. In your 2006 study of that intersection, you looked at a roundabout design. And one of the caveats you had at the end was that the queuing of lines going during your peak hours going into the roundabout could affect both West Union and Mountain Road. So
Correct.
I would ask as you go forward that you consider those intersections as well, so we're not improving one at the sacrificing of the other two.
Maybe I guess I don't want to go too far at this point because, again, we're trying to come to the right answer here. I mean, we did look at a number of options there, believe me. Some of them quite different. I'll just say that. And one of the reasons was because what you folks are talking about with the pedestrians crossing there at the top of the grade. I know myself when I come home from Concord every day, I drive right through that, and I come up around the hill, and I've been driving it for almost 15 years now, and I realize that hey, I got to be careful. Somebody might step out in front of me there. So, but there's times everybody's daydreaming. You go through there, and you just not alert sometimes. There's definitely some issues there. Down by Mountain Road, there's definitely some things going on there too as well with the left turns and people trying to get out in traffic there. That I think they've reconfigured the gas station a little bit better now, but there's still a lot of movements going on there. So definitely an interesting situation all the way through that stretch for sure. So we're going to take a look at some things, and hopefully the committee can help with that as well. And we'll see what we can come up with this time. Yes, sir.
Hank Boyle, I live on Car Court. Few facts. I agree with coming up that hill. It's dangerous. I've lived there about 40 years now on a Car Court, and I don't think I've never seen a major accident there. In fact, I've only seen one fender bender, which is a miracle because one of the problems in my mind, and neighbors that live around there can tell you the same thing, people come up that hill and they stay on the left side. The signage, maybe they need more signage, but they'll stay on the left side instead of going to the right of the islands. It happens occasionally, enough that it's not surprising anymore.
Right.
The other thing is that the major traffic jams there, from living there so long, is in the morning when school is in. Kids are going to school, people are trying to get through. The traffic circle has improved it slightly, but not much. There's a little traffic in the evening when people are coming home. The major thing is in the morning. When I go out in the morning, I'll go out there in a traffic major traffic time. I've never even waited a minute before somebody would get in. So, I mean, the only thing I could see is more signage to keep the people on the right side of the road.
You're talking about around the circle there. Or the,
No, they're coming up the hill.
oh, they're coming up on the.
They come up the hill and they stay on the left side.
Yeah, go around
Both
the wrong
sides.
side.
I think the chief can verify that, right?
I haven't seen that
Witnessed
before.
nightmares.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that where people actually stop in traffic and let you come in? So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
let traffic back up behind
Usually
them?
when I come out even, I'll cut in front of the Maples there, that's that Lloyd building.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get downtown here. And I'm never there more than maybe 30 seconds, and somebody on Pleasant Street, there'll be a break in the traffic, they'll let me get in. And it's not a long, long wait. You have more trouble getting out of Mountain Road. But the people do come up on the wrong side of that hill.
I've seen a lot. I've not seen that.
Right?
Oh, at least once or twice a week. I've seen it.
Yeah, I think everybody that lives around here has seen it a few
In
times.
the morning.
A few things that
Okay, thank
concerned me was, again, the traffic coming up the wrong way. And people that are unfamiliar with it don't treat it as a circle. And when they want to do a U-turn, they do a U-turn and they're facing the oncoming traffic here. And they don't get a good line of sight as traffic flows through.
Right.
So if that could be improved also, that might help with a lot of confusion issues.
Yeah, well, I know when we did the traffic counts, they counted a bunch of U-turns,
Oh, did they?
which was surprising
Yeah.
to me.
It happens quite a bit.
Well, if you come out of West Union, but the only thing you do is take
Yeah,
a right
you
and
can
then
only take a right,
left.
so you have to make that turn right there.
Right. Usually I see a lot of people come up through here and then do the turn here.
Right.
And then come back through. Yeah.
And the other thing with
Versus this way.
the crosswalk where it is, people think when they're coming up the hill, they have to accelerate. So when you're up at the top of the hill and you're trying to cross there, they don't want to stop short because I've seen quite a few accidents there where they bump the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Or even in the wintertime when it's, they're trying to get up that hill
Right.
and they bump into the other person.
Sure.
Yeah, that crosswalk is worse when you're going
When you're going across towards St.
Towards
Lawrence because
St.
you
Lawrence,
can't
because
see
they can't
up
see
it.
you. From the other way,
There's that hill
it's not much problem.
and a curve, a hill and a curve, because even when you're at that on West Union trying to get out onto Main Street,
Sure.
you can't see down. People are coming up so fast that you're just
You don't have
coming
enough
out
time.
and back of them, then they got slamming on their horn. Hey, sorry if you weren't going so dang fast, would have been a problem.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bob Merrill from High Street. One thing that I see happen there a number of times is people who come up the hill and then make a left onto East Union Street and not go around the Rotary. And I've seen that happen numerous times. And that really ties everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does that.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
A few years ago, for a short period of time, they had a barrier in the center of the road, slowing traffic down with a sign saying pedestrians have the right of way. That seemed to
A little
work
post.
for that short period of
Right.
time.
And you stopped doing that, right, Carl?
Yeah, we ran out of money. T-Bow's trucks, they were a
Kept wiping
target.
them
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. You wanna-
I don't think it's speed alone going up there. I'm a biker, my husband's a biker, and I've come up that hill on a bike. And you gotta get it going to get up that little bit, and there are people crossing the road, you can't see them.
Mhm.
So it's not
It's
speed,
difficult.
it's vision that needs to be regraded.
Yes, ma'am.
Cynthia Bovier, Goffstown, Main Street. Like Robbie had said, one of the things we're concerned about is very much safety. And I was also on that traffic committee in 2008. And the other thing that helped with safety was slowing down the speed. So I think a lot of the concerns coming up the hill, slowing down the speed is very important. I've also noticed going through there the slower people go, the more likely anybody from any of those intersecting streets, whether it's here or further down, people are being let out. If you're coming down from Knoll Crest, if the traffic's backed up and everybody's going slow, you're more likely to be let out because, you know, where am I going to go? So that seems to help, and I think it does help the traffic flow. No, when it's backed up, it's backed up. But before the Wallace Road roundabout, it was still backed up, and there were backups in more directions than just coming from Dunbarton, Ware, and New Boston. So, but we slowed down the traffic, which is safer for all the children walking and anybody trying to get out. So I really feel safety and slowing down the traffic. And for the economic vitality of the village, that the slower people go, the more likely they're going to see maybe what's going on, new stores. Oh yeah, I need to stop there. There's a parking spot, or somebody trying to get out of a parking spot. Oh, I see that person's trying to pull out. I will stop. The faster cars go, the less likely they are to stop to be polite.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I do have a few more slides to go through. You know, we have some information that I think is useful. I was kind of holding back on you a little bit here. We do have some of the crash data, but we can get to that in a minute.
There's a lot of talk of the crosswalk between West and East Union Street. I guess my question to you is, if we move the crosswalk to where it's more visible, do you think people will go to the new crosswalk location or just cross where it is now?
Where would you?
Yeah, where would it be? Where would you move them to?
The opposite side
Doesn't
of...
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question yet. I mean, because we can move it to some place.
I think they would.
You do?
Yeah. Well, for instance, I'll jump into that with both feet. If you were to put a roundabout or a signal here, regardless of which option you would choose, you would put a crosswalk with that. You could then say, okay, don't cross here. You could put up signs, don't cross, whatever. People would then have to walk up to this vicinity to cross over and back down.
Some would, some wouldn't.
Some would, some wouldn't. Exactly.
I'll tell you, just an observation on Main Street a few years ago, there was 6 crosswalks, we eliminated half of them. People cross wherever they're going to cross, crosswalk or not. They just dash between the cars. So
People will cross 20 feet away from one
yeah,
if it's convenient.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, the bus stop is at the church on at St. Lawrence. So the kids are getting off the bus there, and they have to cross over. There's not, the crossing guard is usually there, but there's been quite a few times this past couple of weeks that she hasn't been there. And
is that in the
afternoon?
Is that in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the morning.
Oh.
Is there one in the morning?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I go earlier than that, so that one I wouldn't see.
I cross the kids over in the morning because I live right on the corner, so I cross the kids over in the morning, and I told them to stay there because I knew that people were barreling up that hill and weren't going to stop. So they tried to go around me, and I just moved over farther and told them to stop. So then I let the kids go.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough sight distance there. There's no question about that. People are always doing things other than driving sometimes, and it's a tough situation. You got to be on your toes as a driver and as a pedestrian. Is there anything else we need to? I'm just trying to. You're thinking more than I am. I'm talking, listening. We have till 8 o'clock. We don't have to go till 8 o'clock. There's another meeting after that, after this one. Let me. What I guess I'll do is let me proceed here, and I'll still leave it open if people have questions or things that you've thought of that you'd like to say. We're still can listen. I'll just talk a little bit about what we've been up to. We just started basically this month, so we haven't done a lot yet, but we're trying to collect data and so forth. As I said, We were out here doing the counts. Basically, we'll take those counts and do AM and PM peak hour things. What we're going to do is we do a projection then for a design year. So it's not just what's happening now. We take the data and we try to project that out, make a prediction, if you will, as to how much the traffic is going to increase. And we take a look at, we're taking a look at both the current year and the design year. And we look at something called level of service. As Mr. Pierce mentioned earlier, level of service goes, we have a level of service F before when we did the analysis before. We're still going to get something close to that based on the traffic. That's not good. F is not good. A is the best there is. F is not so good. What we found here at High and Elm Street so far, and this is just some preliminary numbers we ran just to try to get a feel for it. This was not done before by us. We did Pleasant and Wallace before, and what we found was level of service F, and that's considering this as a stop sign controlled intersection. That's all it is right now. What we'll do is we'll again project those numbers and then run the existing traffic and the proposed traffic. And we'll run, a signal. We'll probably look at a roundabout, although I don't know how in the heck you would fit one there. We'll definitely look at some different things there, and then try to predict what the level of service would be. Now that's just for cars. As some of you have mentioned, safety is a big concern here as well for pedestrians, bicyclists, and so forth. So we have to take a look at that as well. I think sometimes as traffic engineers, we focus too much on the capacity of the roadway and how we get the vehicles through. But in a case like this, it's very important, I think, to look at the safety aspects as well. One of the things that we did is, I visited with Captain Brown at the police department, and he gave me some numbers, and we're still trying to go through that a little bit. The program we have here in Goffstown to pull crash data out is pretty good, but it leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of the details of what the crashes are. So I think we're going to have to dig through the files a little bit to get some additional data. But basically, in the vicinity of the High and Elm Street, there's been 28 crashes over a 5-year period. 2008 is how far the data goes in the computer system that they have currently, a piece of software. One of the things that he mentioned is that they have a number of accidents that are right by the bank where the driveway is, which was quite interesting to me. People, get queued up there, and then somebody tries to stick their nose out of the driveway, and somebody comes whizzing by the queue on the left hand to get up to the left hand turn lane. So, there's some things like that. There's also, I think there was one pedestrian incident that made it down there. I know there's a number of near misses, and you said, Chief, that there was some other folks as well. Again, that's why I'm looking at the data and trying to figure it out. So there's definitely some issues down there. That's not a horrendous number of crashes. Most of the crashes that were in the data were listed as fender benders, something like that. They're not a big deal, really. So it's kind of interesting. I asked him about that, and he actually said that he thinks that because it is a dangerous situation, that people are actually more cautious than normal. Although I see people flying through there pretty fast as well. So that's kind of where we're at with that stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Well, those of us who have lived here a long time remember there was a fatality at that intersection.
Yeah, I had heard that before.
And at that point, they took Elm Street and they made it into one lane. And it was supposed to be just one lane. They changed the way people could park downtown. Somehow Elm Street has now become 2 lanes again. So you could take a right, or you could try and take a left if you dare take a left. So over time, somehow that evolved, but there was, a lot done back then to try and prevent that from ever happening again.
Yes, sir.
The only fatality I can remember there was farther back. It was a kid on a bike that
The big truck.
went in the way of a truck.
That was at High and Elm, or this
No,
was?
it was out by the bank.
Elm and Main.
Okay.
It's farther back on Elm and.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, it was a tractor trailer.
Okay, and just moving on to Pleasant Street, just by coincidence, there's actually 27 crashes there, so about the same number. Again, they're in the general vicinity. It's a little hard to tell from the data exactly where the crashes are and, how are they part of the intersection, or are they just off? There was definitely some that were, listed as as mountains or Union Street. So it's a little bit hard to tell exactly where they were and what the situation was. One thing that was quite interesting to me is actually 20 of those 27 crashes occurred in 2008 and 9. So they've actually gone down quite a bit, and I don't know if that's just coincidence or what the situation is. Again, running the numbers, we're still getting a level of service F for this thing. I know some of you mentioned before, I drive this every day. I live up off of Mountain Base Road, so I come down past the high school, go around the roundabout, and then go up past the library up to work, and I do that every day. And the Wallace Road roundabout has, in fact, reduced the queue quite a bit. Before, the queue was well past Pleasant Street, and caused a lot of backing there. And I've been interested to see that. My sense is that the intersection is working reasonably well, maybe better than a level of service F from what our numbers are showing. One of the things that we have a problem with here is actually modeling this a little bit because of the ability for people to actually get out here and sit and then cross one lane at a time. So I'm not sure that the model shows us that exactly right, but there's definitely some confusion going on there, and I think that's part of the issue with the crashes that we're seeing. I think there was out of those 27, again, they're in the vicinity. I think maybe 8 or 9 of those were listed as being directly at the intersection. So again, I'm going to try to get into the data a little more and try to understand hopefully exactly what's going on. It is a little difficult sometimes. The police are good about trying to record what the accident was and so forth, but sometimes if it's a small thing, they generally don't put a lot of detail into the reports. So I don't know. Moving on a little bit, this is some GIS mapping, some things that we've done, trying to get the, what's going on in town. The one to the left is historic district, historic buildings and so forth. We look at all kinds of things as far as the existing resources. In fact, we're required to look at noise and air, things like that, which we will do. In this case, those things are probably going to pop up as things that we'll look at and then move right on. Not a big deal in most of these. So next steps, we'll develop a project purpose and needs statement. We'll do that in concert with the committee, the steering committee. And then we'll develop a number of potential alternatives at each intersection, each location, and again, working with the steering committee. And then the next thing that you will see as a member of the public, you'll be able to come. We'll have an alternatives workshop, we call it. And what we'll have is we'll have probably a bunch of boards like this and basically place them around the room, depending on how many people we think will come, and maybe we'll do it here, or we were even thinking about doing it at the high school. Luckily, we didn't have too many people here tonight. But you'll have a chance to look at all the alternatives and basically weigh in a little bit. We'll have a number of folks here from the town and from our firm, and you'll be able to ask questions, see what we're doing, and weigh in on it a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a best guess on when that might be? No pressure.
Yeah. It's mid to late June.
Yeah.
We're trying to schedule a meeting with the steering committee early June, and kind of digest what we heard tonight, and then we'll work with them to see, what alternatives do you want us to evaluate.
Right.
No, that's what we'll bring.
Yeah, we're going to try and do it before the 4th. We got kind of pushed back a little bit on the start. So that hurt us a little bit, but we're trying to keep it moving. Basically, we want to keep this moving. We got momentum a little bit when we get going, and we don't want to stop. We want to at least get to a preferred alternative. Putting plans together once we can get to a preferred alternative. isn't that hard for a project of this size. It's just not that big a job. So hopefully we can, we want to make sure though that we're doing the right thing, as a number of you have said. And then finally, you see the rest here, present the preferred alternative to the Board of Selectmen. The board will decide. It's basically the public can weigh in. We get that preferred alternative, but it's up to the board then to go forward with it. And then finally,
that meeting's a public hearing.
Yes, that's true. Thank you, Brian. And then we'll develop the plans for construction in 2014. Yes, sir.
At the town meeting in March, $761,000 was the budget at that time. According to the item in the Goffstown News, we're now up to $888. That's an increase of almost $130,000, of which is an additional $85,000 out of the taxpayer's pocket. I think someone needs to explain where the numbers come from and where it's going to be paid for.
You want me to? I can, or do you?
Well, we can tell you that the 7 whatever it was an estimate. The 8 whatever it is the estimate. We have no idea what it'll cost until we get to a preferred alternative.
It wasn't sold to the voters as an estimate. It was sold as a free lunch.
Well, there was the numbers that were in the warrant article were our estimate that was put forward with the grant application, based on the village traffic study that was done a few years ago.
We weren't told that these were estimates. We were told that this was your budget.
Well, a budget is an estimate. Until we know what we're going to build, there's no way to really put a number on it. So that was the best guess estimate at the time. When we get through this process and we have an actual preferred alternative, when we start to put together the design, then we'll have a more concrete estimate. If we exceed what our authorization is, then we have to deal with that.
You have to go back before the voters.
Right, and I mean, maybe I'll just add to that is, the thing went up a little bit from last year, and DOT stepped forward, and they're gonna pay their share as well, and they're good with that. So, and I'll just say for the record, I mean, we're not just going to do something just to spend all the money. I mean, we want to do the right thing here, do the best job we can do. Mr. Pierce was correct in one of the things he says is we want to try to do the right thing. I'm not sure we'll get to the point where we're taking property as he mentioned there, but it's definitely something that we gotta. Like I say, I can't reiterate enough. I drive through these things every day myself. I see what's going on, and heck, it'd be nice to solve all the issues here, including the crosswalk at Union and all the things that are going on here, the things that are going on at the bank and so forth. I just don't know that there's enough there to be able to solve all of these things. But I think this is as good a time as any to get a lot of those things on the table and then see where we can go with them. Maybe we can't solve all the problems, but certainly, we have a little bit of leeway here. When you're just working with concepts, as long as we don't get carried away with the details of the concepts, we can get a decent idea of what we can do and how much it might cost, and that's what the conceptual phase is all about.
And the cost of each alternative will be presented
at
the alternative workshop. Estimated costs.
Right.
We won't have bids.
We'll make a guess at it.
We'll make a pretty good guess.
We don't always know the total answer at that point, but we can make a guess. And I think this is on the TV, so this information is available. There's that's Megan's email, and there's my email. Don't email me, no. No, you can send an email to us. And there's also Megan's trying to get. There is a website, a link on the website that we've started up, and we're going to try to put stuff on there as it becomes available. So plans and reports and things like that. We're going to try to put those on the website so that you can see them. If you have Adobe Writer or Adobe Reader, you can see what it looks like. So we'll try to make everything in a PDF. So, are there any last questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
How do you become a member of the steering committee?
The selectmen appointed it for the most part last night.
Oh.
I think there's one vacancy left, but last night they did that appointment. As a matter of fact, a lot of the folks are here in the audience. One thing I just wanted to mention And I wish I would have thought of it more formally earlier, because we could have passed around a note, but when we did Mass Road last year, one thing that we put together was an email blast. And in that project, obviously communicating with the businesses and the residents was very, very important. So we were doing a weekly update, just emailing it out. And we had a list, sent it to one email. I would invite you to get a hold of Megan or myself if you're interested in getting information. It doesn't take us all that much effort to put you in a group, and then we can just kind of give you updates as they come out. It won't be weekly, obviously. This isn't moving quite that fast, but a reminder of the next public meeting and things like that, where at least you'd be notified of what's going on in the process. To stay informed, we'd be happy to do that.
All that information I'll put up on the website too, so if you don't feel like getting emails, you can just check that at your own leisure. So I have business cards if you want to grab that. It has my email on it if you want to give me your information. But like Carl said, that worked really well last year with businesses or residents, whoever wanted the information. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Connie Struzzi. I live at 31 Pleasant Street in Goffstown. One comment I would just like to make is I'd ask the town to give serious consideration to not putting in 3 roundabouts, even less than a mile. I travel both of those ways every day, and if I had to go through 3 roundabouts in a mile, it would take me forever just to get out of town. This particular intersection, I think, right here on Pleasant Street, I come out of that every day. I actually cross over that every day, and I find it works very well. People, I think, they're good in nature. They'll let you through. The only suggestion I would make on that particular intersection is people don't know which way to go in the center strips. Signage would be wonderful. Strips to show which direction coming from which area, I think would be a huge help. But I think that particular intersection flows smooth, except for the person you mentioned down here on Union Street. That's kind of one of the more bottlenecks.
Okay, thank you. I heard a comment when we were talking about the High and Elm Street intersection. Somebody mentioned the need to maintain all the parking. Nobody mentioned parking on Mass or Main Street by Pleasant Street. I mean, is that a concern to maintain that pavement width for parking?
Are you talking where a turning lane would be
Well,
in front of the church?
just in this area, the only time I've seen people park in there was Sunday morning for church.
Saturday afternoon mass.
Yeah.
Main Street activities.
Yeah, sometimes. So it's not a big concern except for those times.
Well, but Saturday evening
Sure.
mass, Sunday morning mass.
Right.
Those are. But there might be alternatives. If you.
Are there any options for off-street parking down at, down by Sully's?
Off-street parking?
Yeah, are there any vacant lots that can be converted to
I don't know. We put that on as a thing to look at. I don't think so myself. Oh, yes, sir.
Randy Chain, I'm at Smith Road, but I'm here for the St. Matt's Church. My commute is actually opposite of yours, and I've, without going into a roundabout, which personally I don't have any strong feeling, stronger feelings against, particularly due to the land reasons. There is no queuing if you're eastbound to make the turn into High Street. There is some room for some. There are a couple parking spaces, and that's literally a couple that are in front of the church. But between that and the houses, it could be done, I think, with striping as I'm making my turns for some 4 lanes to make the left-hand turns. There are three different left-hand turns, one going into Sully's, one going into High Street, and one going to Elm Street. And with everybody being considerate of each other, there's still a lot of cross traffic. Obviously, that's why it's a failing system. But as I'm looking at this overhead view, the carrying center lane seems to be ignoring a certain portion of paving that's up on the High Street side, it might give us allowance to create a little bit more of a queuing lane up against for the High Street and the Elm Street turns, which tend to back things up, especially on those commutes in the morning, when people aren't waiting for the traffic circle at the far end of town.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, I think that's it for the first round. Megan's got the second one going. I guess, do you have to wait till 8 o'clock to start that? Or?
Probably. Do we want to invite steering committee members that are here to stay, and we can actually schedule that meeting?
Could do. Sure.
Folks, if you're on the steering committee, most of you, I think, probably know you're on the steering committee. If you want to just hang back, we can make sure we have contact information and schedule that next meeting.
Thank you all.
Question, do you have a guy named Jeff Santa Cruz that works for you guys?
We do.
I know who he is.
This is, we're going to have a discussion now, as these guys are trying to pack up and run. We're going to have a discussion about the Pleasant Street reconstruction. So it's not related to the intersection, it's this summer's reconstruction project. Everybody good? All right. My name's Carl Quirm, most of you probably know that. Megan Terrio is the town engineer. Hopefully beginning on or about when school starts, we're going to try to reconstruct Pleasant Street. We have an arrangement with the Goffstown Village Water Precinct where we're going to help them. They have a very old water main. So we're going to actually incorporate that into our work. So as soon as we can get in there and start digging up the road, we'll start that water main replacement. That's kind of the first thing that has to happen. And we're hoping to have 2 crews going in there. Right behind the water main, we want to come in and start the drainage work. Unfortunately, for folks that, well, fortunate and unfortunate, it's such a narrow right-of-way, such a narrow street, and there's going to be so much activity, we've decided to try to minimize traffic on Pleasant Street. So we have a very elaborate detour set up, which I'll kind of let Megan walk through that. We've worked with DOT and with the town of New Boston to try to notify folks that will be coming in from 13 to try to avoid the area as much as possible. And we're going to have to use West Union Street a little more actively than it currently gets used. The idea is twofold. One, safety. There's going to be a lot of equipment, a lot of stuff going on in the road. But also, we don't want this project to drag out. We want to kind of get in and get out before school starts again. We can kind of have that main corridor reopened. So that's really our objective. We hope to be in and out quick, try to make it as painless as possible. One thing I'll invite everybody to do before you leave, if you're interested, when we do a project like this, we started last year when we did Mass Road, we started an email blast, an e-blast, where we can send out like a weekly update on schedule, how we're doing on schedule, kind of what we anticipate the next week. So if you're interested in getting those updates, get us your email, and we'll add you to a list, and when the project gets going, we'll try to keep everybody noticed. Basically what we do is we put the same notice on the website, we put the same updates on the website, so there'll also be a project website location that you can go to if you don't want to get the email blast. The project's really quite straightforward. Because of the intersection design that we're doing, we're going to start our project this summer more or less at the bridge out. We're going to kind of leave the in the village side of the bridge up, kind of leave it alone. We're going to put a little bit of drainage in there, but for the most part, we'll do that when the intersection gets done, because whatever we do with the intersection is going to have to be tied in.
Does that mean you're rebuilding that bridge?
Well, we just hired an engineering consultant to help us structurally evaluate the bridge. We do not have the money to replace the bridge right now. We're lining up cosmetic work. We're looking at whether or not we can do the sidewalk at least. We know the sidewalk needs to be redone. So we're evaluating whether we have enough in this year's project budget to do that. We'd like to get it all done. But the actual integrity of the bridge deck, we have to wait until we peel off the asphalt and we can get in there and do some.
Yeah, the sidewalk currently is dangerous. It's got a hole in it.
Yeah, that sidewalk really isn't part of the bridge. It's complicated, but it was added on sometime after the fact.
Yeah, there's a beam
and
that goes nowhere sitting out there.
Yeah, that's been frightening to me since the first time I crawled under there about 15 years ago, and we're finally going to do something about it. But, basically the project is utilities under the ground. We're going to grind the pavement off before we start. We'll put the pipes in and then basically regrade the road, rebuild the sidewalk, repave the road. It's fairly straightforward. And hopefully it's quite a short road, but if we can get the traffic out of there, we can hopefully get it done in fairly short order. Megan, do you want to run through some of the specifics? And when Megan gets done talking about the detour and everything, we'll obviously take any questions you have. But we also have a set of full plans up here, and we have other sets. So feel free, when we're done the formal stuff, you can all come up and crowd around. And if your property is impacted directly, you can look at the plans, and we'll describe to you what we're talking about doing. All right?
I know everyone can't see this very well, but you can come up after. I have two large sets, the one up here, one right there, and I have two small sets. These plans are also online for you to look at if you want to look at them online. But as Carl mentioned, we've been debating where to start the project. We'd like to start right after the intersection, but it kind of depends on budget and stuff. At a minimum, we will definitely have a water line that actually has to start out in the intersection down into here. Once we get a better handle on our numbers and costs, especially with the bridge, which this is kind of up in the air, I'm still working on getting numbers from people on this, we'll figure out how far we think we can go here. Whatever we don't do would be attached onto this project when we do this project later. But the plan is mostly to replace the water main. It's switching sides. The water main's going, the water main's coming down the same side right here. And I don't know if you remember a week or two ago, they directional bored underneath the river. So they did that recently. They went under the stream. So that piece has already been done. So we're ready to hook up from both sides now. So then the water main, in the past it used to skip over to the other side, but we're going to keep it on this side of the road all the way down. And the plan is to bring the water main to just past West Union Street and put a hydrant near the end and finish the water main there for now. Drainage-wise, we're going to replace most of the drainage that's out there. So where you see catch basins now, we'll be putting in new catch basins. We are adding some additional drainage possibly to this front section between Main Street and the bridge. But I believe a lot of these you'd see, it would say new or replaced. So if it's replaced, then we're putting one back right where it is. Otherwise, there's some new structures being put in. The water will still outlet right at the bridge where it has been, so we're not redirecting the water to a new spot. It's going back to where it is now. Right now, there's 3 pipes. There's 2 pipes that outlet here and one that outlets on the inlet side. We'll outlet all of them to the outlet side because that's the right way to dump the water out. There's no need to dump water to the inlet when it goes to the outlet, so we're going to direct it all to the outlet. So no, water's not being redirected in any new locations. So yeah, all this drainage is existing that we're replacing. We are adding some structures because right now, you're going kind of too far without a structure in between, so we're adding some catch basins in the middle. We're also adding some catch basins on the opposite side of the road. There really aren't many catch basins on the right-hand side of the road when you drive up. So in this flat stretch up there, where really the water doesn't have a lot of places to go, we're going to try to add some catch basins. And we're going to try and give the road a very slight, you probably wouldn't even notice it, but a little bit of a roll. Because right now, the road is almost dead flat, and so the water doesn't drain very well to the left or to the right or up or down. So what we want to do is kind of give the road a little bit of a roll, just very light, like 1% down and like 1% back up, and that'll help the water to get to these low points. So no major regrading. It's not like we're going to do, major add a foot of fill or, we're going to try and keep the grade pretty close to what it is right now. Yep.
Just ask one quick question.
Yep.
We already have quite a water problem on that road. If you now make it with slight hills, aren't we catching more water in these little?
But we're going to have catch basins in those locations now.
Will that cover the sidewalk also?
Yes, there's
Because
going to
the
be.
sidewalk it's just a sheet of ice all winter long, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, we're installing drainage. What's kind of nice about the new drainage system? The old drainage system is a corrugated metal pipe. Okay. The new drainage system is a plastic black pipe, and we use perforated pipes along the edges of the road, and it serves two purposes. So the perforated pipe acts as like an under drain, okay? So when the seasonal high water table, when the water under the ground is high, the water can go into the pipe system and drain out. So the water doesn't sit under the road and create all the frost heaves and all the problems. The other thing is during like light rain and in the summer when things are dry, the water, if there's a rainstorm, the water gets into the drainage system and it actually can percolate down in. So you actually do want to do both things. You want to infiltrate the water in low amounts, during the dry weather, but during the wet season when the seasonal high water table is high, you want to collect that water. So these perforated pipes that we install work really well, and we do them on all the reclaim roads, and they seem to really help dry out the roadbed. So when we create that very slight roll, we will be creating low points, but it's because we want to define a low point and put the structures there so the water has a place to go, get collected, and it'll drain down into the drainage system.
Is it going to be crowned one way or the other?
We're going to try and put a crown across the whole road. So right now when you come off the bridge, I think the road is super elevated right there. We're going to crown the whole road. So that's where the only grading changes will be, more significant, but not, they really shouldn't be too bad. We've looked at that to make sure we're not affecting properties too badly through there. So we do want to put a crown in the whole road to get the water to sheet off both sides quickly. There are some problems with the sidewalk where people's foundation drains are dumping out onto the sidewalks also, and those are creating some icing problems for us. So recently I sent out letters, some of you maybe got them, and the hope is that we can tie any foundation drains or sump pumps that are dumping out, and we want to tie them into our drainage system. So that way we don't have water dumping across the sidewalk and creating an icing problem. So if you got a letter from me, it's because I probably found a pipe that we'd like to properly connect. And if you didn't get a letter and you have a sump pump or a drainage problem where you have a pipe in your yard and I just didn't find it, then I would get a hold of me and I'll talk to you about that, and we'll try and give you a drainage stub to your property so that we can correct that problem. Because while we're here doing the project, the plan is to correct these drainage issues, and many of them start on people's private properties. So if we can correct that while we're there, then we'll try and do that. So I think that's it. The sidewalk will be a little wider, 6 feet. The reason we're going to 6 feet is because the stone walls are out there, and the sidewalk plow has trouble fitting next to these stone walls. Typically our sidewalks everywhere are 5 feet, but we decided to add an extra foot here to give us the space off all these stone walls. So we're going to go to 6 feet out there. The road will be 24 feet wide, which is a standard road that we have. The plan is granite curbing for the sidewalk on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, we do not plan to put curbing because right now the water sheets off naturally in a lot of spots, and we're going to try and continue that on the right-hand side where we can. There are some spots where it looks like the sand has really mounded up over the years, like the sand and whatever. And so we're going to try and clean as much of that out as we can to promote sheet flow where we can. And as I said, if there's spots that need it, we're going to install catch basins on that side of the road if there's spots where we feel like the water cannot get off the road. So I think that covers that project. We are planning on ending the project just past the intersection. We'll tie up into the side streets a little bit, not very far, but the plan is to go up the side streets a little. We've talked a little bit about realigning West Union a tiny bit. Right now it's just this wide open throat that people can kind of come out, and they have to look way behind themselves, to come out into the road. So we talked about maybe choking that down a little bit to force people to come to like a right-hand turn, instead of coming out at a bad angle, to kind of turn their cars and be perpendicular, to Pleasant Street. So we've talked about that. When we regrade the road, we may lay that out and see how that works. It's nothing we've got differing opinions on that, on what to do. So we'll look at that out in the field during construction. So detour plan-wise. So as Carl said, I got permission from New Boston to do this detour plan. We came up with this, and it looks pretty simple here, but the signage involved in this is going to be pretty intense to kind of direct everybody where to go. The overall plan is that everybody will be able to drive out of Pleasant Street until 9 a.m. in the morning to let the first commuter traffic out. After 9 a.m., the plan is to shut down the road, and nobody can come in or out except the people who live there and need to get in or out. But there'll be no through traffic at all until whenever the workday ends. I say 5 o'clock, but I believe it's 4:30 is our workday. So till 4:30, it would be shut down. The traffic coming in would be shut down 24/7 the whole length of the project. There will be no cars allowed in. So it's only going to be one way out after 5 p.m. at night and until 9 a.m. in the morning. The reason for that is so we can leave stockpiles, materials, equipment, and it allow us to do have a quicker project. Instead of moving all that stuff off-site and opening up 2 lanes of traffic every night, if we can leave stuff out there, then we can get in and out of the whole project quicker. So that's obviously the ultimate goal. What that means is we need a detour around this area. So unfortunately, detouring way out here is quite a long detour for people. So we'll try and intercept some of this traffic that comes down and get them to go out and around and avoid the area. But all the traffic after 9 a.m., when this is shut off, will have to come down West Union Street and out. We just talked all about how bad that intersection is, sight distance-wise. The plan is, while this is shut down to through traffic, we will have a certified flagger, one of our guys there, the whole day, helping to direct cars in and out. Yep. We will cover the no left. We'll be allowing lefts, and it's because we're going to have someone directing traffic all day long. Okay? To do that, we plan to restrict parking on one side of the street because West Union is pretty tight. So we haven't picked which side. I've got to talk to recycle and trash guys and figure out what side is the best side for barrels and figure out what makes sense. And then we'll restrict parking temporarily for the summer on one side of the street to help us just keep things open to allow 2 lanes of traffic. So there'll be two ways in. Now, trucks cannot use this because it's just not feasible for trucks to turn out of here. It's a residential area, really tight. So that's why I talked to New Boston about using Parker Road. That's a residential neighborhood too, but it's a much wider road. So they gave us permission to do that. So this will be 24/7 any truck traffic because essentially, there's no traffic allowed in here and there's no trucks allowed in here, so no truck can get through. So they will have to use the Parker Road detour. So to you guys, again, that's why I say the signage for me is complicated because there's an auto detour, there's a truck detour. It's going to look like we've littered the place in signs, but unfortunately we need a lot of signs to direct everybody where to go. And we sat down and we're like, all right, if you're coming from here, how do you get there? So I'm sure it's not going to be perfect.
we did our best. We met with DOT, they gave us some input. We made some modifications, but we may need to make changes as we go. So hopefully we've ordered a really good sign package, and we'll know when we get it all up, but you will see a lot of signs in the area. So I think that's it. So that truck detour, we've notified all the businesses in downtown. We hand-delivered letters to them to let them know about the truck detour in case it affected them. And we sent letters to New Boston and asked them to give them to the gravel companies who are affected over here. So we've tried our best to give people a heads up that this is coming. One of the things I haven't done, and I got to figure out how to do, is contact Manchester companies that commute through here. Somebody mentioned that to me. I think the DOT guy said there's a lot of Manchester companies that constantly come through here. So I got to work with maybe Manchester Highway, figure out how to get the word out to them. My plan is I will put this in the paper when it gets closer, and probably the union leader to get the word out about this. But we wanted to talk about it tonight, but this is still at least another whole month off. So that's why I haven't put this in the paper yet. But that'll be the plan, to try and get the word out to everybody about the detour. So I think that's...
One other thing, just to go back to the water precinct work, some of that is going to be night work. Like, for instance, the tie-in that Megan mentioned, we're going to go right out into the middle of South Mass, and we've got to bring the main out of South Mass. To do that kind of work in the daytime would be suicide. And then it's going to seem a little disjointed because we're going to have to jump to the opposite end of the street and do some work. It's not that everybody doesn't know what they're doing, it's just the opposite. We need to install gate valves to isolate the pipes so that not everybody is without water for extended periods of time. So it's going to seem like we're jumping around, but it's really to try to minimize the disruptions to the residents in there. And that really all we're doing is we're digging the hole. Lee Minnick will be actually doing all the work and figuring it all out. But when we sat down with Lee, that was kind of how we came up with the plan. So just so everybody knows, we're not crazy. It's the way we have to do it.
So I think we mentioned this information will be on the town website. If you go to the main website, there's a little link with an excavator on it for construction projects. If you click that, I think the top line would be the CMAC project that we just talked about, and the next line down says 2013 road reclamation. If you click that, that's where all my updates will be on Pleasant Street as construction happens. So again, I aim for weekly updates. I'll be talking with the crew, regularly, and I'll try and let you know what I know. But again, a lot of times we're at the mercy of our subcontractors, like that just happened with, and the weather. Yeah. So we may have the greatest plan, and the granite guy says, "Sorry, I can't come," and it throws everything off. So that happens to us constantly. So
the dance that has to happen, granite has to go in, and then the paver is lined up to come in right behind him. You get one rain day, you get 3 or 4 people that have to rearrange their schedule, so it's not like everything just goes a day. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, I have 3 questions. The first, the fire plug that's on, as you're going to New Boston on the left side, on the edge of my property, is that going to stay? Or is
there's a hydrant there?
There's a hydrant.
What number are you?
25. Tuttles and is that little? Yeah, there's a hydrant there. Is that going to stay?
I don't know why. I don't think there's going to be any hydrants on the left. So it's on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that won't be there anymore. It's going across the street between properties number 32 and 38, right near the lot line.
Okay. Well, I own a slip through there, so it'd be nice if you put it on that. But I can still get the discount for my insurance. The other thing is, I own a slip across there, and next I have Gavin. If you want to use, it's 8.5 by 149 feet. You can store your stuff there. Also, the same side there with the fire hydrant, that little triangle is still mine. It's very wet. That's free to use.
So between 32 and 38, you own a piece of land?
There's 8.5 by 149 feet.
You're talking about the triangle. See that triangle lot?
It is back here. No, she was saying.
Yeah.
Maybe you can come up and show me on the map after.
Yeah, it's 8.5 by 149 that I have the DB too. I know, it's not on
8.5's pretty tight. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if
know.
we'll be able
It's
to
not
utilize
bad.
something like that, but.
But it's, it's not on most of the maps. But if you need storage area, I mean,
Okay,
So
well, thank
if that
you.
will open up the road at all, and it's all wetland, so.
Okay, well, if it's wetlands, then I probably can't store stuff on it, but.
The other thing, all of us on that side of the road have a problem with the aquifers that are away in the back.
Yes, I've been hearing stories about these
And that's
bubbling water from Westwood Drive is
Oh, yeah.
some of the newest stories.
And that's why that sidewalk is always wet all winter long. It's
Yeah.
fresh water coming out there all winter.
Yeah, I think the new pipe that we put in that's an under drain will really help that situation out a lot. We have over where it gets really flat and wet in the big fields right here.
Yes.
So there's a catch basin there now. We're going to install a pipe over here to collect that water. We talked about doing like a double drainage system through here at first, but the problem is there's a whole stone wall here because we talked about running the regular pipe down the road and putting an under drain, which is really just a 6-inch smaller pipe, right along the back of the sidewalk. The problem is we'd be digging right along the whole stone wall, and we're really trying to avoid these stone walls as much as we can because, you know what I mean, we don't want to get into masonry and rebuilding, their property lines. So we decided not to do that, and we felt as though the new pipe that will be perforated should be sufficient, and, they work pretty well for us all the time, so we think that'll work well. We're also working with the owner of these 2 properties up here. We will be able to utilize some of this land for stockpiling, which is great because there's some big space there. In return for being able to utilize this land and just to help a drainage problem, they have water that comes out and causes a bad icing issue. So we're going to try and, after we're done with the project and done with our stockpiling, we're going to try and regrade this area a tiny bit to help so the water doesn't come down the driveway and out into the road right there. So I'm going to try and fix that situation.
Last question.
Yep.
The sidewalk plow guy bounces off my wall all the time. Are you going to put it back?
Well, that's what you talked about, widening the sidewalk.
Because right now it hangs out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're not rebuilding wall. We're trying
No,
to.
it's just hanging out there where he bounces off of it.
Well, and that's why we want that extra foot, because the walls are uneven. You know what I mean? We may say it's 5 feet here, but then you go up to the next rock and it's only 4.5. So that's why we said, let's give ourselves an extra foot the whole way down, and hopefully that'll be the room we need to not be hitting people's rock stone walls.
If you're going to widen the sidewalk, does that mean it goes over another foot to the...
It shifts over a tiny bit. When you come up here, you can see the edges of the lines. The road really isn't moving much at all because I can't remember how wide the existing road is, but I'm going to be just 24. So I'm pretty sure we are matching edge of pavement almost the whole way up. I don't see that we're shifting the road over really much of anywhere. The only place that may shift over a tiny bit is across from that, number 25, the large concrete retaining wall. Across the street from that, it might bump out a tiny bit right there. But really, we should not be making any significant changes where the road's coming closer to you.
But the water main will now be on that side. Is that going to... I'm at 44, and I don't know if there's going to be a lot of disruption to my property line, the frontage there at all? Or
I mean, the right-of-way, with the information we have, the property line, right-of-way line, seems fairly far back here. So the water main will run right along the edge of pavement line. So we're not like putting the water main 5 feet off the pavement. It's going to be right under the edge of pavement line. So we really shouldn't be disturbing too much
I just
right
saw
in
some
there.
marks on my front lawn with blue paint, and I was like, oh, it's like 10, 15 feet onto my lawn. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, I mean, I'll have to go look and see what they've marked out. Well, the only thing they may have marked out on your property is your water shutoff, your service, because you're going to see paint lines everywhere. We have to call DigSafe. It's a state law requirement, and the DigSafe has to be renewed every 30 days, and that's to mark all utilities in the ground. So we're going to refresh. The paint marks will get freshened up every, whatever it is, 30 days, 90 days? I don't know when they expire. 30 days? Oh. So anyway, that's why you see we have to mark out existing utilities. We haven't painted any proposed stuff out there. That's all just existing stuff being marked.
So Megan, I'm on West Union, and I just wanted to know about, it's still going to be two-way traffic.
Yeah.
And of course I have 2 little girls, so safety is a question. So how are you going to slow traffic down so that people aren't whipping down there at 35, 45 miles an hour?
Yeah.
And also, like, there's kind of a sidewalk there, but it's so bumpy and in disrepair that people don't use it. Most people walk down the street. And
Yeah.
so, there's safety issues there with a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to address that?
I mean, we can do things like, put a generic road construction slow sign, for the area or something like that.
There's going to be a lot of signage and a lot of...
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The proposed signage I have on the street right now
One will be
is
flying anywhere.
going to be some no
People
parking.
fly down that street, and it's not a 35 mile an hour street.
I mean, the only other thing I can do is when we have any construction project, we tell PD in areas of concern, they will go park out and do radar. We could put the radar thing up the, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, thank you. So we can do that sometimes, and that might help, that if PD has a higher presence there for a little while to kind of keep the volumes down. I mean, I can put more signs up, but again, there's a lot of signs already, so I don't want to clutter things unnecessarily. But if we think, generic road construction sign a little ways in, or slow road construction, we could order something like that. So that's a good point.
There are several, if it becomes a problem, there are several things we could do.
Yeah.
If we have to.
I have several different questions. On Union Street again, are we also putting road signage down in the business section to slow traffic down coming up that hill?
There's going to be all kinds of signs. The signage that we're going to have, it's not going to say slow. It's going to be generic signs that say road closed 1,000 feet, road closed 500 feet. That's the required signage I need to have.
More though to say to slow it down, because again, people as they come up around that corner, they can't see.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
especially-
generally, when you see large orange construction signs, the whole idea for generic construction signs to say road work ahead is to notify you that you're supposed to slow down, right? I mean, that's the whole point of them. Again, I got to be careful. If I clutter too much, then people aren't paying attention to the message they need to pay attention to, where they need to turn, or where they're not supposed to go. So, again, I think that's something we're going to have to work with PD to help us monitor the speeds through there, and we can make adjustments as we need to. Signage is tough down in the village because, I don't have a lot of room to be pounding all new posts in because we have a sidewalk that's all pavement, so we may have to put signs on tripods, and I don't want to lose parking because of that. So, I'm trying not to clutter downtown with too many signs, but there are some of the required signs to say that it's coming up, to notify them at certain distances.
My second question for Union Street again is, it looks like that bridge is not finished as of yet.
The bridge is the email I got is that the bridge was finished, and I think there was final loaming and seeding done today, or hydro seeding.
It looks, 90%.
Yeah,
done.
we were trying to get that done well before
I was
this.
thinking, okay, is that going to create a safety issue down there with it?
No, we want to be well out of the way.
Because it's nice and paved.
Yeah, well,
It's a little
that is
depression
always
on
a
curve.
complaint,
Things I like to go fast on in my motorcycle.
Unfortunately, right after we pave a road, that's probably the first complaint we get is everyone drives so fast now.
Right.
Again, PD usually has a higher presence right after we pave a road because that's a problem.
And then my third question, and probably to be the most biggest safety question, is are you moving the sidewalks out now to where the white line is on the road of Pleasant Street?
We're moving them out probably a foot from where they are.
That's basically where the white line
Yeah,
is.
possibly, yeah.
Now that road is so narrow and dangerous as it is, are we now not creating a larger?
Again, we're not changing it. I mean, we may be taking a foot off the road. It may be 25 feet, and we're going to
That's
24
actually
feet.
where people come around that corner, and there's so many accidents as they come around that sharp bend toward the bridge. You take away any more room.
Well, the wider you pave a road, the faster people go is generally the
I'm just talking
consensus.
people hitting each other.
Yeah, I mean, 24 feet is a standard if we were building a brand new road, like on some vacant lot,
You do it,
24
but you
feet is the standard road width on a road like that.
There's no breakdown? You have a breakdown.
Like you have a shoulder, which is typically a 2 to 3 foot shoulder.
Right, but you're not going to have that now.
We have a curb, and that's the safety feature on that side is a granite curb. That's you either have a sidewalk with a curb, or you have a shoulder, a gravel shoulder. I mean, those are the. You may not think a curb is a safety feature, but if you didn't have a curb, or you had the kind of curb that people could mount up on top of, then that's very dangerous.
It's a safety feature, but I also see that traffic, and it's so narrow that it's narrow, it's fast, it's a dangerous section. And I just think as you narrow it that much more, I
Again, the problem, I mean, unfortunately, you fix one thing, like there's, we're trying to fix different problems out there, and, we're trying to fix something that's a constant maintenance problem, which is the plowing out there and damaging people's walls, and we're trying to fix that. We're fixing drainage, we're fixing water, so again, we're fixing a lot of things. Unfortunately, sometimes, I don't want to say there's...
We're limited by the bridge, too.
Right, the bridge is another thing.
That's a choke point, and I don't want to creep the road, like maintain 25 feet and creep the road onto everybody on the right-hand side, you know what I mean? Because then we'd be, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? We have to weigh our stuff out, and it's not like we took the road down to 21 feet. We felt like 24 was still safe, and wide enough and safe enough that that was acceptable. So try and balance out those concerns.
Just an aside, are you going to notify the Granite State Wheelmen and all the people that use the biking? They have bike trips, it's weekly, almost daily. You have 6 groups of 16, 25 bikers coming there every day.
We've seen 200 motorcycles come down.
The motorcycles are a different story too.
Oh, boy.
The motorcycle club.
Well, we'll do our best.
I mean, that's...
We're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
The biking clubs, and they have Granite State Wheelmen, the bikers.
I mean, if that's something you could eat, I could write that down, and I can try and send them an email to let them know the project is coming up and direct them to our website where the information is. So if I know that, I'll gladly email them. But that's why we put things in the paper. We hope to just get the word out that way, But I'll take that down after, and I can try and contact somebody.
I can email it to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, that'd be great.
They won't listen. They need the authority.
Yeah, no, I'll absolutely let them know. So, any other questions? I mean, I can talk to you specifically about your property after if you want. So.
Is the road construction going all the way to the urban compact zone, or is
No.
where does the urban compact end?
That's pretty far down by
that's out on New Boston
Wally's house,
Road.
right? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
so
not
it's
going
not the
that far.
whole town.
No, we're just going to just past West Union. Phase 1.
For now. The road out there isn't as bad. It's just this sidewalk section that's bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have a question earlier? Did we hit it?
I just wanted to make a statement that we are replacing about 2,000 feet of water pipe, and during that process, the pipe has to be cleaned to get any dirt or anything out of the pipe. And as hard as you work to flush it out, our guys have never hit 100%. And you just may notice that there's a little bit of something, sediment coming through, and it all goes through eventually because we flush the hydrants on a regular basis. But always when there's pipe work done, there is, and there are a few phone calls. We just explain what's going on.
We'll direct them to you guys. That's Al's division.
Yeah, we've got 300 feet of the pipe in the ground now.
Yeah. That's good. Partway there.
Any other questions?
When is your project starting?
Mid-June-ish.
Yeah, I mean, we planned on starting when school is out, but we might start a little early with the night work portion. That's kind of, we may try and start mid-June.
Down West Union Street, that will be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think the full detour will be until school gets out, but we'll let everybody know. I'll be doing, we usually do door hangers on everybody's door in the neighborhood to say the work is starting next week, you know what I mean, or something like that to give you a last-minute warning. Again, the stuff will be in the paper and things like that, but we try and do the green door hangers right before the work starts, just so you know we're about to come out and get going.
This might be a good time to make a plea for people to sign up for the Nixle alerts that come through the PD if you haven't done that. They're really good about forwarding your information.
Yep. Yeah, that's the general traffic alerts that we send out. Again, the regular weekly information will be on the website, like I said, under the construction projects link and the reclaim. That's where I'll try and just give you kind of weekly, well, next week we're doing sidewalks, or we got this much water main done this week. So I'll put little updates on there. So, yeah.
Just curious, for someone living right on Pleasant Street in that zone, what percentage of the time would the road be totally unpassable that you couldn't get in or out?
A resident will always be able to get in or out. It may be inconvenient. You may have to wait until they shove a pile over to the side to let you through, but
everyone will be allowed.
We always
Within it.
have to maintain emergency access.
Yep.
So that,
About how long did you say the project was?
I'm saying at a minimum it's going to be the entire summer.
I'm not saying
Okay.
a word.
Yeah, I know. This is like the no. I'm sure Mike Hills is watching saying, don't say anything. It's really hard to put time limits. I mean, in our heads, the plan is the summer. We're going to be there all summer, okay? That's our goal. It so depends on the contractor's schedules and those bad weather days, and we'll just keep you updated as we go. But
we'll try to put together a best guess schedule.
Yeah.
We did that at Mass Road. And
it
it actually worked out pretty good.
Well, we had a schedule and we just kept changing it every week, and we're like, okay, this is what happened. But I mean, we told you what was going on, and again, we try and keep you in the loop as best we can, but we're kind of at the mercy of a lot of things. So we want to get out of there as quickly as you want us out of there, because, you know, construction is a big disruption. We know that, and we're trying to be good about it, and, you know, so, and it's our crew doing the work, which is nice. So it's our guys. So if you go out and talk to anybody, they can get you the super on the job, or I'll be out there from time to time. So feel free to, you know, talk to anybody, and just they'll direct you to the right person. And, you know, if you have any questions throughout the whole thing, just let us know. You know what I mean? We're trying to work with everybody and make it the least disruptive it can be. So.
We have a lot of other jobs we got to get done after this one.
Yeah. We do have a lot. So, well, thank you all for coming out. So, I'm sorry this meeting was a little later than usual, but we're trying to put both meetings back to back since kind of similar interested parties. So,
We got a couple sets of plans, so if
you
anybody
need
wants to come
anything,
look
or
at
if you
them.
need my card, I've got that too. So, thank you.
I'd like to look at the beginning of the